Live from WLNS TV, this is 6 News at 6.
I don't want government ever stepping in and telling us what to do in our own homes.
We are the people.
I back our governor no matter what. She's saving lives.
We know that this rally endangered people.
Protesters gathered in Lansing today to voice their frustration over the extended stay home, stay safe order, and in some cases, violating that very order in the process. More than 4,000 people said they were going to today's protest held by the Michigan Conservative Coalition in downtown Lansing. And that's where we find Kira Lake. She's been at the Capitol all day. Kira, tell us more about the turnout for this rally, which has been going on now for hours.
Sherry, as you can see right now, the roads are clear, but not long ago, cars were out here bumper to bumper, and traffic at one point was at a standstill. And I actually got to talk to the organizer of today's event, and he says the turnout was fantastic and shows that people across the state are united in protesting.
We know tonight that one person was arrested for fighting during the rally. Lansing Mayor Andy Shore released a statement applauding the work of the police department. He added that our First Amendment rights and the governor's executive order allow for protests, but he believes there are better ways than congregating at the Capitol and not following social distancing, which puts not only residents but first responders at risk as well. Tina Ray, the president of the Professional Employee Council at Sparrow Hospital, says the protests created problems for healthcare workers, including ambulances trying to move through the city to respond to calls and bring patients to the hospital. The Gower News Agency shared this photo of an ambulance struggling to get through the gridlock on Grand River earlier today.
When asked about the protest just a few days ago, the governor said she supports people's right to free speech, but encouraged protesters to do so safely. The organizer of the event actually told people not to get out of their cars and walk around, but that just wasn't the case here today. Not only were people walking around, many of them were doing so without masks on and with young children. In addition, there was a crowd standing outside the Capitol building as well, clearly not following social distancing guidelines.
This is 6 News at 6.
Hundreds gather at the Capitol for another round of protests against the governor's executive orders. It's our top story at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson.
And I'm Sherry Jones. It wasn't as large as the gridlock protest a couple of weeks ago, but the Capitol grounds and then the Capitol Rotunda were filled with people opposed to Gretchen Whitmer's stay home, stay safe orders.
Sherry and Lauren, let me walk you through this. This is a TV where anyone could watch a live stream of the Capitol House proceedings. And you can see in this area where I'm standing and up these stairs, going up a few floors, that's where people were crowding around trying to demand to be let into the House floor, because according to them, this is the people's house and they have every right to be in there during those proceedings and any votes.
Kiera, were they able to keep everything under control?
State police say that the outside and the inside protests were very calm and that people were well behaved, but there was one arrest. Police tell us that one person was arrested, or a protester was arrested, after assaulting another protester. And unlike Operation Gridlock 2 weeks ago, where people stayed mostly in their cars, today protesters were encouraged to meet on the lawn, and during the protests, some people did not have on a mask or social distance.
What started out as a peaceful afternoon erupted into a chaotic evening in downtown Lansing. Chase Bank is just one of the many buildings facing severe damage. An earlier Sunday evening, a car was flipped and set on fire. Multiple rounds of tear gas was released into crowds of thousands of people. The Romney building's windows were destroyed, along with the Lansing Police Department's door shattered. Officers with the Lansing Police say this is the worst damage they've seen to the department. And for Chief Green, he says he's disappointed with how this day turned out.
Because I wear it to symbolize what can happen. What can happen when you have the resources, when you have the players, and most importantly, when you have the commitment.
Let's get it going, let's go, let's get it going.
But just remember, pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, you do have to dream big, you know. Great things can happen if everybody believes.
It'd be very difficult to leave Michigan State because There's always another freshman. There's always another sophomore. I thought about retirement when I was 40.
Mark D'Antonio is stepping down as head coach of the Michigan State Spartans. D'Antonio announced his retirement on social media just late this afternoon. In the letter posted, D'Antonio says this was one of the most difficult decisions he has ever made at MSU. Audrey, what will D'Antonio's legacy be at Michigan State?
Well, Sherry and Lauren, I think first of all, the immediate thing that comes to mind is his ability to win. He became the all-time winningest coach this year following Michigan State's win at Northwestern in September to surpass Duffy Daugherty on the all-time wins list. He also finishes his 13 seasons with an overall 114-57 record.
Lauren and Sherry, everyone that I spoke to today had something to say about this announcement. Even students who don't follow football know who Mark D'Antonio is, and almost everyone I spoke to called the announcement of his retirement bittersweet. And despite the team's record the past couple of seasons, a lot of football fans thought he'd give it a couple more years to turn things around.
This is a breaking news alert from 6 News.
And we are following breaking news today as 4 men were just arraigned on charges of trying to abduct and kill Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Thanks for starting your afternoon with us. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. Now, they were arraigned just a few moments ago in the 86th District Court in Antrim County.
This is a breaking news alert from 6 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Siobhan Klepfer. We interrupt your regular programming to bring you a live update from Attorney General Dana Nessel.
Our efforts uncovered elaborate plans to endanger the lives of law enforcement officers, government officials, and the broader public.
This is a breaking news alert from 6 News.
Good afternoon, I'm Siobhan Klepfer. We interrupt your regular programming to bring you a live update from Governor Gretchen Whitmer. But today, it's not because of the fight against COVID-19. We are breaking in today because the governor will be reacting to the news about plans to kidnap her.
Earlier today, Attorney General Dana Nessel was joined by officials from the Department of Justice and the FBI to announce state and federal charges against 13 members of 2 militia groups who are preparing to kidnap and possibly kill me.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer says when she took the oath of office, she never anticipated anything like this happening to she and her family. So when we sat down to talk about all of this, that was the first question. How are she and the family doing?
We're fine. We are safe. Our security is, the state police, and they have done an incredible job. We're here today because we have identified the first presumptive positive case of coronavirus in Michigan. We're taking every step that we can to mitigate the virus spread and keep Michiganders safe.
I would just like to pass along my heartfelt thanks to all the nurses out there.
You are so brave and amazing.
Saying thank you just does not cover it for what you're doing each and every day, what you're doing right now, helping people fight COVID-19. You did not sign up for this.
And you find out you got some real friends. There's a big fear factor, stigmatized, where people want to run away as soon as you tell them that you tested positive.
The Purcells went to Jamaica in mid-March, just before the governor's order to stay in place. And they say some people are blaming them for catching the virus.
This is heaven. It's been a miraculous journey.
But certainly not an easy one.
I am so grateful to be here.
And to be able to go home with her family. Jeanine Thalin was brought to Sparrow Hospital on March 15th, almost 2 months ago.
And she was in ICU for 35 days.
The staff at Sparrow say they have learned a lot from her case.
Let them play. Those 3 words were chanted continuously on the Capitol lawn by hundreds of people from around the state.
We drove approximately 6.5 hours to get here. We thought it would be a good example for them to come and support what they believe in.
One team even making the trek from the UP.
Now that we're here, I'm very glad that we decided to come.
Many athletes expressing that college scholarships are on the line.
Carl Mankey's Barber and Beauty Shop has been in the Owasso community since 1961. And this week, owners decided to open the doors again, despite state orders to remain closed. To help limit the spread of the coronavirus, Governor Gretchen Whitmer is requiring businesses such as hair, nail, tanning, and spas to remain closed until May 28th.
I just can't do it.
I mean, financially, emotionally, I can't do it. I have to work. I mean, it's a necessity.
Her third citation.
Angela Riguez was just one of the hairstylists cutting hair today.
We can work safely. She's not our mother. We control ourselves. We've had enough. This is ridiculous. We have a right to make a living.
And after several warnings, she was also one to get a citation from state police for disorderly conduct.
All the information is with their
What authority do you have for that? Where in this? It doesn't say that. Back up. No, you back up. No.
Anyone who visited Harper's in the last 2 weeks should self-isolate and quarantine immediately. Right now, at least 25 people who have been linked to the popular restaurant have tested positive for coronavirus. Harper's restaurant and brew pub closed this week after learning of an outbreak traced back to the business.
The stimulus checks will offer some relief to Michiganders, but others in the retail industry say the checks may not be enough to help.
We're hearing a lot of stories about hardship. People have rent to pay. They have mortgage, they have utilities, not to mention putting food on the table.
The places that provide that food are doing what they can to adapt.
After months without their vehicles, the doors are forced open for customers at a local auto body shop. It's our top story at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson.
And I'm Sherry Jones. The owner of the Mako in Lansing stopped showing up for work, leaving his customers' cars trapped inside.
Well, after this case was brought to court at the beginning of this month with a no-show from the Mako's owner, a judge approved for him to be evicted today. And while these customers were excited to finally be getting their cars back, they waited anxiously for the shop's garage doors to open because they weren't sure what conditions their vehicles would be in once the Ingham County Sheriff's Office let them inside.
Well, the Ram's running.
Having his truck and the sound of his engine put Larry Miller's mind at ease. But just for a moment.
And it didn't do nothing to it.
I get a phone call at work that your son has been shot. As a mother, you can't even imagine how my life has been altered by this altercation.
I had a one-on-one with Police Chief Daryl Green for nearly a half an hour, and he says one of the main reasons he got into law enforcement is because he wanted to help mend the relationship between black people and police.
The recent deaths of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor sparked new outrage and a new call for justice to end police brutality in communities of color. But the strained relationship between black people and law enforcement goes back for generations. Lansing's first black police chief, Daryl Green, says that's one of the main reasons he wanted to join the force.
Because I wanted to make a difference.
But in 1997, when he became an LPD officer, Green quickly learned you're still black before you're blue.
This afternoon, during a Senate vote at the Capitol, it was brought to our attention that one state senator was wearing a mask that appeared to have the Confederate flag on it. Check it out. Our Kira Lake spoke with State Senator Dale Zorn, who was wearing the mask, and she's here for you now with his response.
Someone came up to us and said that you had on a Confederate flag mask in the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, sure. It wasn't a Confederate flag. It was a mask that my wife made for me, and she wanted me to wear it today. Mm-hmm. So I did, and I told my wife it probably will raise some eyebrows, but it was not a Confederate flag. And you know, I think even if it was a Confederate flag, you know, we should be talking about teaching our national history in schools. And that's part of our national history. And it's something we can't just throw away because it is part of our history. And if we want to make sure that the atrocities that happened during that time doesn't happen again, we should be teaching it. Our kids should know what that flag stands for.
What does that flag stand for?
The Confederacy.
Do you have it with you, or?
No, I don't. I left it in there.
You left it inside. Yeah. Okay. And what is it exactly? You said it wasn't the Confederate
it was no. It's not. It wasn't a Confederate flag. My wife said it's more similar to the. I think she said Kentucky or Tennessee flag.
Okay.
But it was not made out of flag material.
When you put it on, you were like, this might raise a few eyebrows.
Yeah, just because it looked like, if you didn't look at it closely, you might think it was a Confederate flag.
Mm-hmm. And why did you make the decision to change?
You know, I respect this institution, and I didn't want my actions to cause a negative effect to the institution.
It's our annual day of giving to benefit the Greater Lansing Food Bank and the South Michigan Food Bank. We're here to take your donations of food and cash, something that's especially needed during this stressful year.
How's it going? I'll tell you what, I'm pretty much speechless, which is not good when you're about to do a live report on TV. But seriously, the generosity from the community this year is overwhelming. We were able to raise, between the monetary donations and the food donations, over 40,000 meals for people in need this holiday season and beyond.
We've been overwhelmed with the response. We filled up this entire South Michigan Food Bank, both bins completely full. And as far as monetary donations, we have broken records. Last year we raised $1,300. This year, when the need is even higher, Jackson stepped up with $2,600 is how much we've raised.
Safety is always what I'm thinking about.
Caden's dad, Jonathan Counselor, normally takes his son to Patriarch Park in East Lansing. It was built just 6 years ago, well after playground safety standards were put into place.
And it's also a lot more safer, especially with the foam that they put on the ground too. So if a kid does fall a little bit, they're not hitting cement.
Would you like a bag? There's some good safety stuff in there for you. Thank you. You're welcome.
So your reason for coming today is because of your family history then?
Yes.
Okay.
Every day, at least once a day, I think about breast cancer. Usually I'm trying to mentally prepare for the chance that I may one day hear those words. You have breast cancer.
About 1 in 8 U.S. women, or about 12%, will develop invasive breast cancer over the course of a lifetime. A man's lifetime risk of breast cancer is about 1 in 883.
That we can kind of like use our sisterhood, come together, and really just make an impact. And we always say we're trying to make 1 in 8, none in 8.
For the past 2 years, the sorority says it has raised more than $20,000 for the Bright Pink American Cancer Society.
So I immediately thought, it's back.
Her premonition was right. Her breast cancer had returned with a vengeance. She started getting severe headaches, so doctors did an MRI on her brain, and what they found was devastating.
And I had about 20 lesions in my brain.
Live from the WLNS Digital Studio, this is 6 News Now, and your host, Siobhan Klepper.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Siobhan Klepper, live in the digital studio. It is Wednesday, December 2nd. I hope you're having a fantastic day so far. I am, I gotta say, our digital content manager, always keeping us up to date on our website, WLNS.com, and he's joining me now with today's talkers. Adam, what's everybody chatting about?
Absolutely, Siobhan. Today's talkers. If you see on your screen right now, I have at Siobhan on air and at Adam Fisher News. Those are both of our Twitter handles. If you're watching today and you go and find these stories and read them, reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you.
Desde WLNS, esto es 6 News.
¿Qué tal? Muy buenas tardes. Soy Araceli Crescencio. Te doy la bienvenida a tu actualización del Canal 6. Hoy es 7 de mayo y empezamos.
All right, well, good evening. We are joined now by WLNS 6 News Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic to do a debrief on the debate that you just saw with the 8th congressional candidates, Congresswoman Alyssa Slotkin and, of course, her challenger, Paul Young. So I know you watched the entire debate. Tim, what was your biggest takeaway from this? They did have some very heated discussions at times.
First of all, you want to take a deep breath here for a second?
I know. Thank you. I need that.
But what struck me is the number of issues that they actually agreed on. And I wrote them down. The payroll tax. They both agree. We don't think we should get rid of it. They both agree we should not have mandatory masks. They both agree that we need to preserve the pre-existing conditions, which has been a very contentious issue on the R&D side.
Well, good afternoon. I'm meteorologist David Young alongside meteorologist Diane Phillips covering severe weather for you this afternoon. Pretty active afternoon. Back to the Doppler we go. Diane's been tracking it for you through much of the midday hours and in the afternoon. We've got new warnings to tell you about. First off, let's get this in motion. You can see how the storms are tracking towards the east and northeast at between 40 and 60 miles per hour.
A wild day across mid-Michigan as strong storms roll through. Large hail and strong winds causing damage and knocking out power to thousands.
Well, in the Mason area right now, there have been a lot of tree damage. Branches have come down off of some very large trees. In fact, one big tree right here.
Check out the scene behind me. Right now, we are just off of Hinman Road. And again, this is in Fowler. This was a three-sided barn, and the open facing part of it that you're looking at, this was facing the south, which is where a lot of those really heavy winds were coming from.
Jim, where are you and what are you seeing right now?
Right now, Diane, I'm in DeWitt. In fact, we're heading down Old 27 at this time. This is where you got a lot of stores and also some places to eat. But notice on the pavement here, it is very sloppy right now.
Here's the time lapse. Check this out. Captured this earlier this evening as that line of showers was coming through, and it contained some really gusty winds. I mean, it looked gorgeous. The sun was out, looking good, beautiful evening. Then the skies began to darken, and watch as this line of storms began to approach, and it's got that thing we talk about from time to time, a shelf cloud. There it is right there. Look at that, racing over the city, and right behind that some very gusty winds. The airport observation, wind gust 58 miles per hour. That's as strong as anything we saw out there yesterday across mid-Michigan, so it certainly was a rough evening. Social tracker, some beautiful shots. Look at that shelf cloud. That is gorgeous, isn't it? This is coming to us from Debbie, and capturing the winds right behind it as well. Another social tracker shot, equally as beautiful, from Craig. How are these produced? And we've talked about this from time to time, but here's a refresher. We had the line of storms coming in. The cool air rushes out. It bumps into the somewhat more warm and moist air, and it literally forms a cloud right on the leading edge.
6 News presents the 8th Congressional District Debate. Here's tonight's moderator, Sherry Jones.
Good evening and welcome to the first debate between the candidates for Michigan's 8th Congressional District. Tonight's debate will feature incumbent Democrat Alyssa Slotkin and challenger Republican Paul Young. Well, how do you see, or what do you feel is the proper role of government in American life?
Sure. I mean, there's no bigger conversation that typically characterizes differences between Democrats and Republicans.
We talk about, and we want to live up to the idea of this, we are all created equal, that we have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
This is the 6 News Capital Rundown.
The interview that we did, I basically said to her, whether you like this or not, after you give that speech, this speculation thing is going to continue.
Will she or won't she? Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic looks at the national chatter surrounding Governor Gretchen Whitmer.
Michigan's critical heading into 2020.
Republicans claim they've got a jump on Democrats here in Michigan in 2020.
I'm doing really well, and we have a ton of momentum.
And not throwing in the towel. Despite gaining little support in Iowa, why presidential candidate Tom Steyer says he's still in the game.
6 News is your local election headquarters, and we're here with Representative Tim Walberg, running for re-election for Michigan's 7th Congressional District in the November general election against Democrat Gretchen Driscoll. Representative Walberg, thank you so much for being with us today.
It's great to be with you.
Why do you deserve another term?
This is 6 News at 6.
Thank you, Michigan. Go out and vote. Go out and vote.
President Donald Trump makes an appearance in Lansing today to rally voters for the election that's just a week away. It is our top story tonight at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Lauren Thompson. Today's rally at the Capital Region International Airport was just one stop on a packed campaign schedule for the president this week.
Weather conditions were less than ideal today, but that didn't stop Trump supporters from showing up, and by the thousands, just outside one of the airport's hangars in a speech that lasted about an hour.
Joe Biden did not hold back when talking about what he would describe as President Trump's failed and irresponsible way to fighting COVID-19. He even credits the president with starting a recession.
He failed to do his job on purpose.
Welcome to a special presentation of 6 News. For the next hour, we'll examine and review voter information with Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, Attorney General Dana Nessel, and your host, Sherry Jones. This is Making It Count.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones, and this is Making It Count, a voter information town hall. Secretary Benson, how can someone really know if they're registered to vote, and what should they do if they're not registered but they still want to vote?
The visit today closed down roads and drew hundreds of people downtown.
6 News traveled with the Vice President in his motorcade across the capital city.
We have team coverage for you tonight, starting with another exclusive one-on-one interview with the Vice President you'll only see here on 6 News. From Capital Region International Airport,
is the food here as good as I think it is?
To the Fleetwood Diner on Lansing South Side.
Well, hello, Michigan.
And in front of a crowded room at the Lansing Center. Vice President Mike Pence highlighted the high stakes here in Michigan as he made his 3rd stop here in the last 3 months.
I think the reason why President Trump won Michigan in 2016 and why we're going to win Michigan again in 2020 is because this president has fought for and stood for the common sense ideals and values of the heartland.
The Vice President spoke exclusively with 6 News today along the way.
Here for you from your local election headquarters. This is 6 News at 11.
And now the polls are closed across Michigan and the votes are being tallied for the 2020 election. It is our top story tonight at 11. Thank you for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones.
And I'm Lauren Thompson. Thanks for tuning in to this special election edition of 6 News at 11.
Welcome parents, grandparents, friends, and students as WLNS presents Celebrating the Class of 2020.
Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Sherry Jones. Tonight, we honor the senior class of 2020. Unlike most who came before them because of the global pandemic, their final year of high school came to an abrupt end. For some, their last day came and went without any fanfare. That being said, graduating high school is still a huge accomplishment, and we want to take the next hour to celebrate.
Now, from 6 News, a special presentation, Our Nation's Hidden History. Honoring Black history.
Good evening and thank you for joining us as we take a moment to recognize Black history throughout the nation and right here in mid-Michigan. I'm Kira Lake, and throughout this special presentation, we'll take a walk through time, uncovering the hidden parts of our country's rich history.
This is Hidden History, celebrating Hispanic heritage in America.
Hello, and thank you for joining us as 6 News takes an in-depth look into America's Hispanic heritage and how this culture found its way to Michigan. I'm Jorma Duran.
And I'm Araceli Crescencio. We're right in the middle of Hispanic Heritage Month, and during this special, we'll explore the history of its important culture and its current influences that are still taking shape right here in America.
Mid-Michigan may not be the first area that comes to mind when talking about the Hispanic culture, but as I found out, not only did Latino and Hispanic roots get planted here long ago, they've been impacting our area for generations.
As part of Severe Weather Week, the Storm Tracker 6 weather team presents Here for You, Ready for the Storm. You'll hear from a man who'll tell you what it's like to survive a direct lightning strike, and we'll get behind the wheel of a mid-Michigan storm chaser. Plus, learn the secrets to surviving a severe weather event. It's all coming your way next. Here for You, Ready for the Storm.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I am Chief Meteorologist David Young. Over the next half hour, you'll hear from our weather team. We're here for you to make sure you're not only ready for the storm, but that you're safe and prepared.
This is Feel Good Friday.
Hello, welcome to Will and Letha's reading channel for kids.
I think everybody just wants to help others during this time.
And then you pull it around, so that's how it has the expanding ability. So
how do I look? Not bad?
We are donating everything we can within our means.
We're very impressed with everyone banding together to help their neighbors. It's really quite beautiful.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Siobhan Klepfer. This is a very difficult time for Michigan, our country, and the world, but staying positive is important. So tonight we are going to take the next 30 minutes to bring you strictly good news stories, and we hope this newscast will remind everyone that they're still good when everything seems bad.
It was quite a shock.
2 years ago, Rachel Kunch was a healthy, active 44-year-old woman, but as if overnight, she felt off.
About 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, started to have shortness of breath late at night over the course of a weekend.
She thought it was a cold or maybe even bronchitis. Either of those would have been a blessing compared to what doctors told her a few days later. Her heart was failing. At first, she was told she could recover.
So in my head, it was get through this, however many days it takes to get well and get back to life and maybe make some lifestyle changes if this was caused by stress or something that I had something to do with.
She prayed and believed things would get better, but a week went by and things got worse, much worse. Other organs started to fail, so she transferred to the University of Michigan.
The doctor told me that I was very gravely ill and that I needed to be put on a life support type of system called ECMO and that I needed a heart transplant urgently. It's a very rare condition called giant cell myocarditis that I was ultimately diagnosed with.
That was a Tuesday before Thanksgiving. Her doctors gave her just a few days to live. She was scared, but Rachel says even then, something inside of her told her that she was going to be okay. The next day, she was placed on the transplant list, and on Thanksgiving morning,
my husband walked in that morning on Thanksgiving and said, "I think you're gonna get a heart today." And I said, "No, I don't think it's not gonna happen that fast. There's no way." And he just believed it was gonna happen.
And sure enough, they got that very news.
Just got a call from the doctor a little bit ago, and they have a heart for me already. It's a Thanksgiving miracle.
But with those happy tears come sad ones as well.
When you're a recipient, you have been given the gift of grace forever. And so I recognized always that while I lived, someone else had to die. So that weighs heavily on me, especially this time of year.
That donor was a 33-year-old man. He died on Thanksgiving 2 years ago and gave Rachel a strong, healthy heart. It beats for her now, her husband, her 2 sons, and beats to tell the story of a Thanksgiving blessing from a stranger who gave the gift of life.
But it's such an easy choice to make. It's such an easy thing to do. We can't take our organs with us. They don't do us any good. And the reality is that at some point we all will pass. And if we can do something that helps someone else, why not? Why would we not want to do that? I would encourage everyone, this Thanksgiving to give thanks and register to become an organ donor, because you never know how you could give someone the gift of life as well.
Here for you this Thanksgiving Day, I'm Siobhan Klepfer.
This is the Dean Trailways 5th quarter.
High socket, hip pocket. Come on, Ken.
There's nothing like a Friday night. Nothing can compare.
Get upfield, get upfield.
I was a really young coach when Mike Smith kind of reached out to me at a 7-on-7, kind of put his arm around me and does what he always does, man. He's a big teddy bear guy that cares about people.
He will be missed, and he's one of those guys that you can't replace.
We are.
And these wrestlers are very good on defense. Don't catch the ball too well.
If you're a wrestler, you have to be kind of scrappy. So would you describe them as somewhat scrappy?
You know what? They're almost as scrappy as you are. Oh, big TV star. I tell people I know Audrey just so I can get free drinks around town. It's truly Americana. That's what this is.
He meant everything for this program. Everybody just wants to be Coach Smith. He's loved by everybody. He's one of the best coaches, people I know. We knew he's up there watching us. So we're just trying to win this one for him.
Fred, hello. I miss you. I miss you. I'm going to miss Audrey more.
Wow. You have no idea how much we're going to miss you, Mike Smith, and we can confidently say the rest of Mid-Michigan offers the same sentiment. The news of his passing at the age of 67 years old has sent shockwaves throughout the community today. And on this 5th quarter Friday, it's only right we open tonight's show by honoring a man who spent nearly 40 years roaming up and down the sidelines.
The
right thing to do was to make sure that we cancel the Big Ten men's basketball tournament.
Absolutely stunned disbelief. Couldn't believe it.
There will be no March Madness this year.
I'm missing, let me see here. What am I missing? Going home and cleaning out the garage. So it's...
Welcome to a March to Glory unlike any other we've ever done in the history of this show.
Is that the unknown of maybe looking back on this 20 years from now, 10 years from now, for you and the players, kind of the what ifs of what could have been or what could we have done?
Yeah, and I don't like the what ifs. You know, if you get beat, you get beat. And you had your chance. You know, Middle Tennessee, I guess if I look back, I'd say, man, I wish they would have canceled it that year. But I really wouldn't have.
Well, it's time for our 6 Sports Play of the Week. We do this each and every Monday during our 6 o'clock sportscast. And wait until you see this BEA beauty of a putt. First and foremost, you have to meet Ella. Here she is on hole 1 of the course known as Flamingo Fairway. And not only does she just put a little enough oomph into her putt to get it through each obstacle, but it drops right in the cup for a hole-in-one. So we tip our hat to you, Ella, for the creativity and your beautiful golf stroke. That is our 6 Sports Play of the Week. Okay, so we know there's no Masters this week, so to fill the void, we here at TV6 decided to hold our own one-hole tourney, and I'll let our photographer extraordinaire, Connor Wilton, take it from here.
Thank you so much, Audrey. Let's first take a look at the aerial view of the course our competitors will be playing today as it winds its way through the entire news building. Let's begin with 6 Sports Director Audrey Dahlgren finds herself in a little bit of trouble here, almost finding the stairs. And then can she salvage it? Oh, in and out, unfortunately, but she would finish with a 10. Now to executive producer Adam Fisher, and he had a struggle out there, folks. Well, a near miss here, a near miss there. A tough day for the young lad. Now to photog Dan Ray, he is carefully looking at his ball here, but a little too much effort on that one. But he would take the lead with a 9. Now over to Assistant News Director Chris Panaleo playing the cautious game, but it would pay off. He takes the lead at 7. Now over to who many consider to be one of the favorites, photog Connor Wilton. A nice caroming shot here, setting him up in perfect position for a chance at it, and oh no, heartbreak from short range. Chris Panaleo, your 6 News Masters champion.
Because I wear it to symbolize what can happen. What can happen when you have the resources, when you have the players, and most importantly, when you have the commitment.
Let's get it going, let's go! Let's get it going!
But just remember, pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, you do have to dream big. You know, great things can happen if everybody believes.
It'd be very difficult to leave Michigan State because there's always another freshman. There's always another sophomore. I thought about retirement when I was 40.
Did you?
Yeah, of course you do. You always think about, okay, 20 more years or whatever it is.
Seasons, Mark D'Antonio is stepping down as head coach of the Michigan State Spartans. We're here for you tonight with the latest in an expanded edition of 6 News at 6. Thanks for joining us. I'm Lauren Thompson.
And I'm Sherry Jones. Coach D'Antonio will speak publicly at a press conference in just 30 minutes at 6:30. We'll bring you team coverage as it happens on air and online at WLNS.com.
D'Antonio announced his retirement on social media just late this afternoon. In the letter posted, D'Antonio says this was one of the most difficult decisions he has ever made at MSU. He thanked the fans, alumni, administration, players, and coaches for their support.
But he goes on to say that now is the time for change as Spartan football enters a new decade. And now his priority is his family. 6 News Sports Director Audrey Dahlgren is here for you now with more insight into this legendary coach.
So, Audrey, what will D'Antonio's legacy be at Michigan State?
Well, Sherry and Lauren, I think first of all, the immediate thing that comes to mind is his ability to win. He became the all-time winningest coach this year following Michigan State's win at Northwestern in September to surpass Duffy Doherty on the all-time wins list. He also finishes his 13 seasons with an overall 114-57 record. He also led MSU to 12 bowl games in his 13 13 seasons with wins in the Rose Bowl in 2013, which I'm sure you all remember, and a berth in the college football playoff in 2015. But as much as his legacy will be about winning and reviving Michigan State's football program after the departure of John L. Smith, it's about his ability to connect with players and get the most out of them. D'Antonio has turned so many walk-ons as well as 2- and 3-star players into All-Americans and guys who have went on to have successful careers in the NFL. Kirk Cousins, Le'Veon Bell, Darqueze Dennard, Felton Davis, Garrett Selleck, Trey Waynes. I mean, the list just goes on. A total of 31 draft picks, and there will be more in this year's upcoming draft. Kenny Willekes, Joe Bacci are a couple that just come off my, top of my mind. Raekwon Williams. I know several players who played for D'Antonio, and that's one thing that they always mention, not only his ability to get the most out of his players, but he also was a coach who very much cared about his players and put, them first. One player even told us today that he would personally write a letter to them on their birthday every year just to let them know that, to have to add that personal touch. So you'll hear from some of those players during Sports at 6.
All right. Thank you for your insight, Audrey.
Well, as with anyone who's been a coach as long as Mark D'Antonio, there have been highlights and lowlights along the way.
Among those highlights, of course, winning 114 games in the span of 13 seasons, making him the football coach with the most wins in MSU history. And among his most memorable wins, of course, beating Stanford in the 2014 Rose Bowl. It was the Spartans' first trip to Pasadena since 1988.
2 seasons later, he went even further, finishing as a top 4 team and taking MSU to the playoff. But D'Antonio's tenure was also filled with challenges, including the last 2 seasons where the Spartans barely cracked the 500 mark.
And you'll remember he suffered a heart attack after beating Notre Dame in 2010, and he's dealt with several player controversies as a number of Spartans got into legal trouble over the years.
And now D'Antonio faces some legal issues of his own as the university is being sued by a former staffer who D'Antonio fired.
Word of Mark D'Antonio's departure is sending shockwaves throughout Spartan Nation tonight.
That, of course, includes students and fans on campus in East Lansing. Brittany Flowers has been on campus since this announcement late this afternoon. She's getting reaction.
And she's here for you now live from MSU. What's the mood like out there tonight, Brittany?
Lauren and Sherry, everyone that I spoke to today had something to say about this announcement. Even students who don't follow football know who Mark D'Antonio is, and almost everyone I spoke to called the announcement of his retirement bittersweet. And despite the team's record the past couple of seasons, a lot of football fans thought he'd give it a couple more years to turn things around. Others say a fresh start might be exactly what the Spartans need. Regardless, all these students agree that D'Antonio was a great coach, and the important role he played here at MSU will be one to remember for years to come.
It's the end of one of the most successful eras in Michigan State football. So, of course, 1950s, we had quite a few national championships, but I mean, I don't remember the last time we won 3 Big Ten championships in 10 years.
I think it could be really interesting to see where we go from here. I mean, you get that fresh mind, like you said, like a new mindset, and totally, I mean, someone might be playing the game completely differently, and that could really bring new plays to the game, so that's exciting.
But I know it's going to be a lot different, especially like when I think about like D'Antonio, I think about D'Antonio and Izzo being kind of like hand in hand.
The big question now, of course, on a lot of these students' minds is who will step in to take D'Antonio's place. Here for you live on MSU's campus, I'm Brittany Flowers, 6 News. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Brittany. We're going to have much more on Mark D'Antonio's retirement coming up a little bit later tonight in sports, including reaction from some former players and the impact that this announcement will have on next year's team, since tomorrow is National Signing Day.
Stay with us here at 6 News. We will stay on top of the story as MSU begins its next chapter and a search for a new head Spartan football coach.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer is preparing her response to the President's State of the Union address tonight.
And as our Capitol correspondent Tim Skubic reports, Republican groups are trying to get out ahead of that speech.
She said no to the question last September and reaffirmed it 2 weeks ago in her office. Governor Gretchen Whitmer asserts she does not want to be vice president. But when she was picked to deliver the Democratic response to President Trump's State of the Union message later tonight, instead of going away, the speculation only increased. Even the New York Times got into the act with this, quote, her selection to make this speech has led to increased speculation that she could be a running mate pick. While she steadfastly explained she does not want to be VP, here's a more pointed question she's never been asked.
If the candidate the Democrats put up call you and offer you the job, what would you say?
Tim, I would be very flattered, but I've told you many times, you know, I love Michigan. I've run for office in Michigan to stay close to the people that I represent and to be home, to be near my family. And that nothing's changed on any of those fronts.
She did not reveal what she would say if she got the call. And the second time she was asked, she paused and then said,
So if that call came, the answer would be no.
Tim, I'm going to take anyone's call if it comes, but here's the thing. I am not interested in going to Washington, D.C. I never have been.
Meanwhile, the Republican Governors Association, prior to her response tonight, is trying to take a chunk out of the governor's credibility by telling viewers that she promised to fix the roads but did not. Even the president gets into the ad.
She's not fixing those potholes.
And the Republicans argue she is not even popular in her own state.
Governor Gretchen Whitmer saw a dip in her numbers.
Her 10 minutes in the national spotlight from the auditorium at East Lansing High School comes after the president speaks tonight. And then let's see if the vice presidential stuff stops or escalates. Here for you in Lansing, Tim Skubic, 6 News.
Stay with 6 News. You can watch the State of the Union address and the governor's response tonight on air and online at WLNS.com, because 6 News is your local election headquarters.
This is Weather First from Storm Tracker 6, sponsored by Auto Owners Insurance for whatever lies ahead.
We've got quiet weather across the area today and will tomorrow as well, but things go downhill a little bit by tomorrow night, especially into Thursday. Satellite and radar this afternoon shows some snowfall off to our southeast, a little bit to our west, but that's not going to cause any major issues out there this evening. We look off to the southwest. The storm system we're talking about is just getting organized, so it's still going to be a while yet before it gets here. Precision cast travel to the north looks good during the overnight hours. You got to head pretty far south to run into some at least mixed precipitation. So no major issues across the entire region through tomorrow morning. By the afternoon, a little snow moving across Illinois, Indiana, and into Ohio. But that doesn't really bother us. Even tomorrow night, things look okay. Maybe a little light snow by early Thursday morning. But the bulk of this system is probably going to hold off until the mid-morning hours in the afternoon on Thursday, and that's when it's most widespread. The afternoon commute, the mixed precipitation stays just out of the TV6 viewing area, so I'm not anticipating any freezing rain or sleet. Snowfall chances continue through Thursday night, even into early Friday morning. Can't rule out still a little bit of light snow or snow shower activity, but the bulk of significant accumulation should be done by that point. And by Friday afternoon, improving travel weather across the regions that storm system begins to pull away from the area. A look at snowfall potential, and this is really lots of question marks with how much snowfall we could see from this system, because I assure you, if you go on social media, you'll see higher numbers than what I've got. But the computer models in general have around 2 to 4 inches across the area. And I think a widespread 1 to 3 is a good bit. I think 4 inches is probably the exception unless the system suddenly gets a lot stronger. We'll keep an eye on that, but for now, it looks like generally 2, 3, maybe 4 inches of snow. Skyview Network, cloudy skies currently in St. John. Same thing as you look over towards downtown Lansing. Lots of cloud cover from our WLNS tower cam. Grand Ledge, pretty much the same thing. Clouds have been thickening up a little bit outside. Meanwhile, on the Jackson cam, still cloudy skies, temperature at 33, winds only 3 miles per hour, and the Hillsdale Tower cam quiet as well. Should look at temperatures around the region. 32 Howell, same thing in Mason, Charlotte, 33 degrees, low to mid 30s all across the area. For the overnight lows, we'll dip tonight into the low 20s, mostly cloudy skies, a little less wind tonight than we had this afternoon. Not that it was terribly windy, but still less wind tonight. Wednesday's forecast will start out just fine. Clouds increase tomorrow afternoon. By tomorrow night, cloudy skies by 9. Temperatures in the upper 20s. On the 6-day forecast, light snow a good bet on Thursday. The afternoon commute more impacted than the morning commute. Leftover snow showers Friday morning, then over the weekend. 33, warming things up by Sunday with some snow showers possible. The 6-day forecast, wintry mix next Tuesday, again next Saturday, and high temperatures averaging in the low to the mid 30s. Here's a check of traffic tracker this afternoon. It has been very quiet. That's great news. No problems across central mid-Michigan, including the Lansing area. Further south into Jackson County, 94 and 127 moving along just fine. In fact, really no accidents until you get over towards Detroit. No accident, but a little debris in the road there, slowing things down a little bit, but that is about it. We'll continue to watch it. As I said, this system's still just forming, so I think we'll have a much better idea tonight at 11 o'clock on the expected snowfall from the system.
Okay, sunny and what, 52, wintry mix.
It's just another winter in mid-Michigan,
Exactly.
right?
Thanks, David. Well, local prosecutors are considering a controversial plan that would give convicted murderers a second chance at life. We'll explain after the break. Thanks for watching 6 News at 6. Anyone can be deserving of a second chance, even convicted murderers. That's according to the Ingham County prosecutor, Carol Seaman.
She recently announced a review of first-degree murder cases to see if any of those convicted should be paroled.
6 News reporter Kiera Hay is here for you now with a look at why some families are outraged at this idea.
We knew it was him. We knew he was coming for us.
Crystal Gregonis fights back tears as she describes the night her ex-boyfriend broke into her home and stabbed her and 2 others with a kitchen knife.
He was there to kill. I mean, he stabbed me 15 to 20 times.
And a judge agreed. Terrence Lee Taylor was charged with 2 counts of attempted murder and 1 count of first-degree murder for killing Edward Aquin. Taylor was 18 years old when he was sentenced to life without parole.
Promised us, Crystal, he's never going to get out. He's never going to get out. You'll never have to worry about this.
But now Crystal is worried. After 20 years, she learned Ingham County prosecutor Carol Seaman will be reviewing life without parole murder cases to see if anyone deserves a second chance at freedom.
I feel like if Carol Seaman wants to get people out of jail or out of prison, why is she working on the worst of the worst?
Seaman regrets the way people found out about her plan, but believes some people, even murderers, can change.
That doesn't mean that there aren't people who deserve to be in prison the rest of their life. There absolutely are. But it does mean there are people who can truly be rehabilitated. We don't know who they are now unless we look.
Seaman says the United States incarcerates 40% of the world's life sentences, adding minorities are often the subjects of harsher sentences.
We're looking for a fair and just system.
If Simon's office believes someone deserves freedom, they will have to convince a parole board before asking Governor Whitmer to grant a commute sentence. Here for you in Lansing, Kiera Hay, 6 News.
Well, Audrey is here for you now with sports.
And of course, continuing our coverage on the news of Mark D'Antonio's retirement announcement today.
Yes, Sherry and Lauren, after 13 seasons as Michigan State's football coach, D'Antonio has decided to move on. Not only will you hear from a couple of his former players, but we'll discuss what this means ahead of tomorrow's National Signing Day. Stay with us.
This is the LaFontaine Automotive Group 6 Sports Desk.
As we mentioned at the top of the show and all day today, Mark D'Antonio has stepped down as Michigan State's football coach after 13 seasons at the helm. And when you think about his career at Michigan State, he really helped reinvigorate a program that was in dire need of a change following the John L. Smith era in 2007. Now, the last couple of seasons have been more difficult. The wins as well as Big Ten championships haven't come as easy. The Spartans finished this season with a 7-6 record and a win in the Pinstripe Bowl. But for the last 2 years, he's been under a lot of scrutiny, especially from the fan base. Earlier this year, he did tell us that he would be coming back for another year and would be on the field when the Spartans opened up next season against Northwestern. But now today, we know that will not be happening. So many of his former players took to Twitter today to express their love and gratitude for D'Antonio. Former Spartan linebacker Darian Harris said, "You're a legend, coach. You're one of the best men on the face of the earth. I was blessed to play under your direction and guidance." Chris Fry, another former Spartan linebacker, tweeted, "Thank you for everything. You are the reason I became a Spartan and will be a Spartan for the rest of my life." We're moving on to Josh Butler. Extremely blessed to be a part of the D'Antonio era. You helped a lot of dreams come true. Felton Davis also chiming in. And then, of course, you have Marcus Rush as well. We also talked personally to a couple other players, and here's what they had to say.
I was at work when I heard the news from a coworker. I was kind of shocked a little bit, definitely thought he had a handful of more years left in there, but I think it was time, and, he's a smart man. I think he knows what he's doing.
I was really kind of, I guess, in my own head under the impression he was coming back, more so at least for one more year. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy this year, and some speculation that maybe he wasn't going to come back, or maybe Michigan State shouldn't hire him back. But I thought at least he should have the right to one more year.
Tonight at 11, you'll hear much more from the players on what D'Antonio means to them. Well, the timing of it is a little surprising with National Signing Day tomorrow, so this announcement doesn't come at the greatest time when you think about the future players who would be committing to the program. He was expecting this class to be anywhere from 21 to 25 players, and in the early signing period in December, he had 19 commitments. Based upon who signed that day, the Spartans had the 42nd best class in the country and 11th in the Big Ten. We will know much more about that, obviously, tomorrow. Well, in lieu of all of the D'Antonio talk today, there is still a basketball game taking place tonight at the Breslin Center between number 16 Michigan State and number 22 Penn State. Our Nick Mantis is live at the Breslin Center. D'Antonio will be addressing the media at 6:30 prior to the game. And Nick, what can you tell us right now just being there?
Well, it's kind of an interesting atmosphere. Everyone's kind of waiting to see what D'Antonio is going to say tonight, but we obviously still have a basketball game, so fans are still trickling in. Now, Coach Tom Izzo told us earlier this week that he wants to see other players rather than Cassius Winston step up as far as their offense is concerned, and Cassius hopes that there's a certain part of their defense that could really help them get more home wins like tonight.
It's hard to put too much on Cassius. I mean, he scored 23, but he got 6 in the last 10 seconds. And somebody should be able to pick up the slack. Maybe it'll be a Rocket. Maybe it'll be a Gabe.
I think we both play, similar styles. Kind of, play hard, rebound, get out fast, get in transition. So I think, whoever wins the transition battle will probably be the better team. Our transition defense is going to be a real key to our success. So that's one of the things that we're focusing on the most.
Well, defense obviously wins championships, so whether or not they can get another home win tonight can see whether or not they can hold on to that Big Ten standings and get a regular season championship as well. From the Breslin Center, Nick Mantis, 6 Sports.
All right, thank you, Nick, so much. Well, that's it for sports right now. Michigan's basketball team also plays at home against Ohio State tonight, so we have a very busy 11 o'clock show ahead for us. All right, that's it for sports. David is back with a look at our forecast. We'll see you then.
Well, we know we're going to have snow in the forecast the next couple of days. Probably a good time to download that app.
Yeah, when you're away from the television set or your computer and want to get the forecast, because unlike a lot of apps which just kind of spit out numbers at you, this is our forecast. Free of charge, interactive radar, snowfall totals, watches, warnings, hourly forecast, you name it, it's got it, and it is free. So download that and give it a try. The 6-day forecast, best chance of snow. Thursday morning you wake up, not a lot on the ground. But during the day we'll accumulate somewhere between 2 and 4 inches, and it's out of here by Friday morning with a slightly warmer weekend and a few snow showers Sunday.
All right, well, winter, it's February and winter is coming back.
It is. It didn't go away for long. All right. Well, don't go away. We're going to stay right here. We're going to be joining the MSU football community as Mark D'Antonio announces his retirement.